Hi, this is Mark Hoke. Has out-of-control inflation, gas prices, and grocery costs wrecked your wallet? Then check into automated day trading with Trading Made Easy. Trading Made Easy has spent 5 years helping people put cash in their pockets with their simple-to-use day trading software. So if you're ready to leave that 9-to-5 job behind, visit TradingMadEasy.com or call 800-971-4160 to sign up for a free live training seminar right now. That's TradingMadEasy.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Las Vegas. This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. 1 full hour of wrestling news, entertainment, and lots of Sin City surprises from inside the squared circle. Now, let's bring on the tag team of Andrew Fish Fain, Joe DeFalco, and your host, Mark Hoke.
Holy crazy timing, Batman.
Oh,
Woo! Yikers. Welcome to the Mark Hoke Show, everybody. Fish!
Yes, sir.
Andrew Fish Fain, sticking around for hour number 2 on the show. How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm fantastic. We get to talk to one of the killer bees, baby.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. We are so excited. Today, we're going to be Brian Blair on the show in just a little bit. Of course, this is the Mark Hoke Show on KDWN 101.5 FM, 720 AM, the talk of Las Vegas. The best in pro wrestling news and entertainment from around the world. I'm your host, Mark Hoke, Andrew Fish Fain. And I switched positions, by the way. The producer bailed out, so I'm producing the show as well. And shall we say cutting things close?
Yes, we shall.
Yes, we shall. So, it's just so I can catch my breath and have a little fun, what do you say we get our guest on the show? And I got to tell you, a guy who is ensconced in professional wrestling history.
Ensconced?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes, he is. Bzzz. Yes, he is. Of course, everybody... Stop it! Fish. Easy.
You should have had come in with a music sting.
Oh, my God. Will you stop? Holy cow. But, of course, he's going to be in town here for the Cauliflower Alley Club event here at the Plaza on the 26th through the 28th. This is going to be a lot of fun, and we are very excited to have on the show B. Brian Blair. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Mark, how are you, my friend?
Doing well. It just got you out of church, huh?
You sure did. But I tell you what, you and Andrew are entertaining, and it's worth it. I love you guys.
Well, thank you very much, and it's just a pleasure to have you on. I've been a wrestling fan since early 80s, and you guys are always one of my favorite tag teams, so to have you on is an absolute pleasure.
Well, I certainly appreciate that. Thank you very much, Andrew.
So, first off, tell everybody a little bit about how you got into professional wrestling, because it's a really fascinating story. How did you do it?
Well, to those who haven't read my book, Truth Be Told, available on Amazon, cheap plug there.
Oh, it was coming, trust me.
Which would spell all that out. Quite simply, I've been an athlete all my life. I was raised very poor. I've lived on my own since right before my 16th birthday. And, to occupy my time, because I didn't want to go home to arguing and all that kind of stuff, I have 4 siblings. And so, and of course, I'm the oldest, and I just indulged my whole life into scholastics and into sports. And I wrestled since I was in junior high school, middle school, high school, college. And I used to occasionally get a write-up in the newspaper, and then a guy named Andy Hardy from Channel 13 here in Tampa, he had me on the show, and I borrowed a tie from my dad. I never had a tie, and so I got a tie from my dad, and it was, when I look back at it, it was a big fat tie. Anyway, he liked the fact that I came dressed and, respected him, and Eddie Graham and Steve Kern and Jack Briscoe and a lot of the guys used to go around to the dual meets because Eddie Graham was big on amateur wrestling, and they kind of knew my backstory, and they knew that I actually had the most letters in the history of my high school. I lettered, it's 3-year high school, 3 years in football, 3 years in wrestling, 2 in baseball, and 1 in track and field, which was very difficult to do. But,
yeah, it's 9 letters. That's impressive.
Yeah, in 3 years. It's pretty difficult to do because some of the season overlaps. But anyway, I got an opportunity, had met Buddy Colt as well. And between Buddy Colt and Jack Briscoe and Eddie Graham, I was given an opportunity to go to the dungeon at 106 North Albany Street in Tampa, where they turn people into pretzels and they run people off generally. And they don't, unless you, to give you an example, the 3.5 summers I trained, out of over 100 people, the only other 2 guys that made it were Hulk Hogan and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
Wow.
This is very difficult, very, very difficult. But that's how I started.
That is amazing. And just hearing that story just shows how deep you are into the true history of professional wrestling from the territory days all the way up until now. And, one territory that, I think some people sometimes forget a little bit about championship wrestling from Florida, but the talent that came out of there, and of course you won titles in there, was absolutely amazing. And I remember when I was a kid that when I got to see that on cable, I was so excited. I'm like, because I'd seen it in Pro Wrestling Illustrated. I'm like, ooh, what's this Kevin Sullivan guy and all this kind of stuff. And I was just fascinated with Florida wrestling, and you were a big part of that. Tell everybody a little bit about championship wrestling from Florida and what it was like being among such an incredible talent roster you guys had down there.
Oh, you're correct. Did you live in New York?
Pennsylvania, South Central PA.
Okay.
I saw you at Hershey Park Arena.
The tape went up there from WTOG 44. And all the wrestlers in the business wanted to go through Florida because of the beautiful weather. The payoffs were good. The trips were short. Some of the territories you go to, you're doing, 3,000-4,000 miles a week, and just absolutely insane. And Florida was, 7-night a week, sometimes double shots on Sunday and two shots for TV on Wednesday before Miami. But, you were busy but you could be back at home in Tampa every night. And it's just, from superstar Billy Graham, Don Morocco, Jimmy Garvin, Joe LeDuc. You can go on, Pat Patterson, Ivan Koloff, the Briscoes, the Funks. You can go before that to the great Malenko and Eddie Graham. And, just so much talent came through here. Everybody wanted to come through Florida. And so you got a great diversification in the styles. And it was a great education for me because so many wonderful guys came down and worked out with me, like Bob Backlund and, Carl Gotch, besides Hiro Matsuda, Jack Briscoe, Gordon Nelson. Just so many wonderful people would come and offer their time to mostly stretch me, but help me become a better human being. And because Eddie always thought that, these guys have to be honest. I don't want any feeling in the locker rooms, and they have to be able to protect themselves. He would always say, I don't care if you guys get beat up by another wrestler, but you better never get your ass kicked by a monk, is the way he would say it, the wrestling thing, and or you're fired. And so, everybody had, especially the younger guys, like, they're older than me now, but like the Steve Kearns and the Mike Grahams and Jimmy Garvins and those guys, they all had to, know how to take care of themselves. And the culmination of all that talent and being in such a great climate and great area, inexpensive, no state tax, brought all this talent to Florida. So, I was able to be two-time Florida heavyweight tag team champions, two-time Florida heavyweight champion, Southern heavyweight champion. It was just a lot of fun, and it was a tremendous education. Bill Watts learned everything, just about everything he knows from Eddie Graham.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, most people know you as a tremendous tag team wrestler, but you've had a lot of success in the singles ranks as well. Did you prefer singles wrestling to tag team, or did you prefer tag team more?
I probably like singles better. I mean, I enjoy tag team wrestling, and Jimmy Brunzell is a tremendous partner. But it's a different, you have a different psychology, different style. Obviously, you've got 4 men in the ring versus 2. And so you have different responsibilities in a tag team match, and a singles match, it's a mano-a-mano, and, that's when you can really showcase what you do. And I've always preferred a single match with a good opponent.
And you've had quite a few. And one thing that fascinated me when I got to go through a lot of your match records and so on is just how many people you've been in the ring with that have just been such a huge part of wrestling history. I mean, I didn't know you would wrestle Bruiser Brody and Hanson and some of these other guys, and you had tag teamed with Abdullah the Butcher. I mean, just it's incredible to me when you think about it, just how many of these people's paths you've crossed over all these years in your career. It's amazing. Who are some of your favorite opponents and matches that you've had over the years, and what is that like? Just getting to wrestle all of these amazing people in all these different places.
It was wonderful. I mean, it's hard to say who my favorite. I would absolutely in tag team wrestling say that the Hart Foundation were at least my favorite opponents, and probably Jimmy's too. In singles, there's so many guys that could just really perform. I mean, a guy that you don't hear about a lot is Colonel De Beers, Ed Wiskowski.
Oh, yeah, I remember him from the AWA, yeah.
Yeah, Ed one time, being the heel, he had me in a front face lock for 15 minutes.
What?
In a 20-minute time limit match. Well, of course, I would get out of it, but he would get me back into it. And I was thinking to myself, man, this match is terrible, because we got that little bit of boring for like 5 minutes, and he just said, shut up, kid, wait, shut up, kid, and do this, kid, do that. All of a sudden, I'm thinking, God, this is, oh, man, I hope the boys aren't watching this. But before the end of the match, and we didn't draw, it wasn't a 20-minute time limit, but at about 19 minutes and 40-some-odd seconds, when I pinned him, the people went absolutely berserk. When I finally came out of that headlock, which they were just begging for me to do for 15, 18 minutes until I made that big comeback, I mean, they finally were getting so peed at Ed Wiskowski for the dirty tricks he was doing to get me back into that headlock, to where he almost had me knocked out cold, almost like in a sleeper type, nothing left, no more air to the brain. And the people, you give them the little finger and a little bit of finger action and lift that arm up, and they're right there, and you jiggle and jump and fight, and all of a sudden, bam, bam, and he goes to swing at me, and I duck and nail him, and all of a sudden it's boom, boom. It's like the whole arena roof comes off. And so he was a great psychologist, and I learned a lot of psychology from Ed Wiskowski. But, Jimmy Garv and Pac Song, I mean, I could go Kabuki, the great Kabuki, Bruiser Brody. Like you mentioned, Abdullah the Butcher. There's a story in my book when Abdullah talked me into going to, I don't like scary movies. He talked me into going to watch this movie, The Cannibal Holocaust, which you can watch now. But if you're not too much into scary movies like I'm not, you get ready for some nightmares, because this is like a real deal thing. I still to this day don't know if it's real or how they did this, but if you ever get a chance to watch Cannibal Holocaust,
I've heard some.
We went and saw that.
Yeah,
and
I've heard
Abdullah,
Go ahead.
Abdullah, who in Japan was, I mean, big time. Everybody was afraid of him. Well, he talks me into going to the movies, and about 40 minutes into the movie, Abdullah just hurls all over the place.
Oh, God.
Flying out, hits a bunch of the Japanese people. Oh, my gosh, I could not believe he did that. And
he's a big dude, so.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, so many experiences in the business. And that, I was grateful that I could, put all that stuff into a book and be able to share that with people now.
Oh, man.
Obviously, you're most well known for being a part of the tag team with Jim Brunzell, the Killer Bees. How did you guys decide to come together and become the Killer Bees? And how did that formation happen?
Well, when I left in 1984, right before WrestleMania 1, I left to come back to Florida to be the Florida heavyweight champion. And Vince McMahon Sr. wanted me to come back and work for the Intercontinental Championship. Well, Terry Bollea, Hulk Hogan, was there, obviously, with a great crew, and Vince was cherry-picking all the territories, getting all the talent. And I got a call from him, and he said, Brian, listen, Vince wants to talk to you. I gave him an idea because he's creating a tag team division that's going to be second to nothing you've ever seen before. And, he wants to put you with Jim Brunzell. That was my suggestion, and he liked it. And I don't know if you know Jim Brunzell. And I said, well, I really don't. I heard about him in the magazines and stuff. But lo and behold, I finally said, okay. I wound up going to New York, gave my notice in Florida, went to New York, met Jimmy in Brantford, Ontario, and we didn't know what we were going to be. We're going to be a tag team, and what a tag team division it was back then. And George asked us, he said, listen, you guys are on, and it was less than an hour, and you got to come up with a name, a catchy name. So Jimmy and I are sitting there, and George Scott says, I'll be back in just a little bit. Whatever you guys come up with, let me know, and I'll take it to Vince and see what he says. And so that's a pretty daunting task to think about a name in, that short of time. So I'm thinking, and Lanny Poffo is there, George the Animal Steel, Macho Man, all the guys, everybody's around in this locker room, and I'm going, Blair Brunzell, and all of a sudden in my head popped up the 82 undefeated Dolphins that had that linebacker crew, Bonicani and Baumgartner. They all began with a B, so they called them the Killer Bees. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I said, well, what about the Killer Bees? And Jimmy goes, Killer Bees, I love that. And I said, yeah, I like that too, Jimmy. And the Killer Bees, Blair Brunzell. So George Scott hadn't even left the room yet. And so to go, because he's running all these things back and forth to Vince. And we asked, hey, George, we think we have something. And he comes back to us and he says, what is it? I said, how about the Killer Bees? He goes, the Killer Bees. I like that. So he goes, just a minute. Let me go run and let me tell Vince. I'll be right back. Anyway, he comes back. He goes, well, Vince loved it. You guys are now the Killer Bees. And Lanny Poffo goes, yeah. And he reaches into this giant hockey bag where he kept, I don't know, he must have had 30 different outfits in there. And he pulls out a pair of bee trunks.
No way.
Yes. He pulls out, he actually happens to have two pairs of these bee trunks. And so Jimmy and I said, hey, Leap Stewart, can we buy those trunks from you? And I don't remember if we paid for them or what, or if he gave them to us or whatever, that we just used them for the night. But that was how the Killer Bees were born.
He was a genius, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
Yes, he was. Yes, he still is.
Oh, my God. That is terrific. Of course, we're on with B. Brian Blair here on the Mark Hoke Show. I'm Mark Hoke along with Andrew Fish Fain. And, boy, I'll tell you, all these stories, by the way, available in Brian's book, Truth Be Told.
Truth Be Told.
Yes, B-E-E.
Yes.
Go get it. And I think I was going to go get it anyway, but I think I'm just going to do it right after the show. Stop it, Fish. My God. Oh, do you see what I have to put up with, Brian? This is unbelievable.
See, I'm like his tag team partner.
He's not trying to cut your toenails again, is he?
No. No, thank God, no. But I will say this, and I don't want to dig too far into the whole situation with you guys not winning the titles. But
that was annoying to me.
But I will say this: you guys were so incredible and so over. I know when I was a fan, I loved watching you guys wrestle, and you should have been the champs at some point.
Well, we were promised the belt on 3 different occasions. Besides the first time that lured us in there, we were promised to be the champions. I wasn't going to go unless we had the deal that we were going to become the champions. And so that was promised then, and then 3 other times. But it was, and Jimmy will be the first one to tell you this, him and Vince were like oil and water. And I didn't even realize that Jimmy had sued Vince before I got there and won. He had gotten fired by George Scott, our booker, and not because of the quality of his work, but for some other reason. So there was animosity there. And I'll never forget when merchandise started getting hot and Vince comes out with this Killer Bee T-shirt, and he's all excited. I mean, Vince is so excited, and he's got it behind his back, and all of a sudden he says, guys, get ready. You're going to love this. And he pulls out this new Killer Bee T-shirt, and naturally, I see Vince's emotion, and as soon as he pulls it out, I said, whoa, man, this is awesome. Wow, this is really great. I mean, I was so excited, and Jimmy goes, what the hell is that?
Oh, jeez.
I could just see Vince's face drop. Just like, oh, man, it was just things like that, George would say something, and he'd say the other thing to him, and it just kept on and kept on. And we were the hottest tag team on the planet at one time. I mean, we had won the Frank Tunney tournament, the Jack Tunney tournament. We had won the Survivor Series. I mean, we had we were just prime, ripe for the belts. We couldn't even turn heel. I mean, it was just perfect. But for some reason, the powers that be there, and of course, they're the ones that put the belts on you, or it's not like you win them in a shoot. So for some reason, they just they never gave the belts to us. But we had to go to Herb Abrams' UWF promotion to become the world heavyweight tag team champions.
What was that like, by the way? We've seen all those crazy stories. Just real quick, what did you think about what was that like being in part of that UWF with Herb Abrams?
Oh, that was Joe.
I don't know if you ever saw The Dark Side of the Ring.
I sure absolutely did.
Yeah, so you kind of have a little understanding from that. But, Herb was Mr. Electricity. All he thought about was, prostitutes and cocaine and, just hookers and cocaine. And you can't do business like that, guys. You know that.
Well, Fish does.
Hey.
Maybe after work. I mean,
exactly. Thank you.
It's just when you got to run a business with a lot of different personalities and a lot of moving parts, like the wrestling industry, you have to be focused and you have to be laser sharp, and you have to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you are.
How many WrestleManias did you actually get to be a part of?
WrestleMania 2, WrestleMania 3, WrestleMania 4, and then I gave my notice in Salisbury, Maryland. I never got fired. I gave my notice to Vince in Salisbury, Maryland before WrestleMania 5, which I would have been in. So 2, 3, and 4, and then the Survivor Series. We had lots of the big event in Toronto. We had like 68,000 people at A&E Stadium, but we were on the first, not only the first Survivor Series, we were on the first Royal Rumble, all that stuff. So it was great. No matter belts or no belts, certainly. And we even have action figures. They put the belts in the action figures.
Oh, ouch!
Wow, yeah.
Those action figures are worth a lot of money right now. They're all worth money, but anyway. So, everybody knew we were winning the belts. And for some reason, I don't know, it wasn't because of the lack of effort or the lack of being over. It was because of politics, as usual.
Now, everyone talks about having a WrestleMania moment. Do you have a favorite WrestleMania moment that you were in? And the follow-up to that also is in WrestleMania 3 at the Silverdome. How amazing was it to be in front of all of those people in that huge arena?
Well, Andrew, that kind of coincides because that was probably my favorite WrestleMania moment was when we were in a modified golf cart in a pair of modified underwear being wheeled out in front of 92,000 people. It was like something I can't even describe. You could have cut the electricity, the aura, the atmosphere with a knife. It was just absolutely incredible. And I had goosebumps from the tip of my toes to, the top of my scalp. And I just, looking around, saw it was like a sea of heads and people. And it was absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And that would be my WrestleMania moment. And right before that was kind of cute. Shane McMahon came up to me and was telling me how good my body looked for some reason that day. And he goes, "My sister likes you." And I said, Stephanie's like 10 years old. And I said, "Oh, okay, Shane, that's nice. I like her too. Tell her she's really, really cute." And I'll never forget the little things, that make the events, little things that make it special.
Boy, you shouldn't have made a move on that. It turned out that was a pretty good gig.
Yeah, Triple H knew what he was doing.
Yeah, well, that's prison time.
That's true. That back then, yes, that is true. And of course, we gotta get close to wrapping up, unfortunately, because I think we could do this for hours and hours.
Absolutely. But
I want to make sure that we get to talk about the 56th annual Cauliflower Alley Club reunion coming up. Brian, of course, you're the president of the organization now. Tell everybody a little bit about what Cauliflower Alley Club does and what's going to be going on at the reunion at the Plaza coming up on the 26th through the 28th.
Absolutely, Mark. And it's first off, the Cauliflower Alley Club was established in 1965. This will be our 56th reunion rather than our 57th because we missed one for COVID. But the Cauliflower Alley Club is a nonprofit 501c3, and we raise money to help anybody that worked in the professional wrestling industry, supported themselves in the industry for 3 years or longer. And sometimes we do make exceptions to that. That's totally up to the board. But we give away hundreds of thousands of dollars. And, a lot of people made millions of dollars in this business, millions of dollars that fall on hard times. And we don't mention the people's names that we help, but a few that, want us to, that gave us permission to, and just sang the Cauliflower Alley Club's praises were people like Kamala, who we saved his house from being repossessed.
I remember that.
Mr. Wonderful, we saved his house. Bobby the Brain Heenan needed medical expense money. Brickhouse Brown needed chemotherapy. Coco Beware recently needed I believe it was a knee operation and didn't have insurance. Things like this happen to the guys, poor planning or disease, divorces, whatever the case may be, as long as it's not drug or alcohol related. Of course, if it is and you work for the WWE, they will send you to rehab at no charge. But we help people with all these different issues and people that worked in the business, whether you were a referee, whether you were an announcer, and of course, the talent. And we get together and not only through membership, you can join the CAC. This year is the last, starting January 1st, all the rates go up, but for $25 a year, and you get 4 award-winning newsletters with that $25 that come to you every quarter. That's a tremendous deal. About $12.50 of that goes to the actual cause. because again, we all work for free. Nobody, I pay my own reunion. I have to buy my own reunion ticket for $150. You know, I have to pay my airfare, and only thing I get is an upgraded room because I entertain a lot of the honorees. But we're there at the Plaza Hotel and Casino from September 26th through the 28th, just coming up a little over a week from now. And we've got Memphis Mania Night. We've got Jerry the King Lawler. We have Jacqueline. We have Tommy Wildfire Rich, the Rock and Roll Express. We have Christine Teeny Jarrett being honored posthumously, so Jeff Jarrett and Jerry Jarrett will be there. We have the Surprise Courage Award, which gets over really well every year. We have a James C. Melby Historian Award. And, then on Wednesday we've got JBL, Bradshaw. We've got a referee award, Charlie Smith Referee Award, which is Billy Silverman, Kevin Sullivan Men's Wrestling Award. We have Conan, the Lucha Libre Award, Charles Ashenoff, Madison Miles with the Rising Star Award. There's going to be a ton of people. They have presenters like Doug Gilbert, Haku, James Beard. We have tremendous singers that open up with the national anthem for not only the USA, but for Canada. And we have a lot of Canadian members. We have members from all around the world. But it's a wonderful time. It's a wonderful event. We have seminars, and for $150, and we have $39 a night rooms on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, plus taxes and fees, whatever that. They have taxes and fees on everything.
Yeah.
But it's a great time, guys. There'll be people selling merchandise and nostalgia room. There'll be belt raffle, which gets over every year. We have a customized, one-of-a-kind custom belt that gets raffled off. And we have Medusa and John Arezzi and Jimmy Hart as our MCs this year.
Wow.
It's going to be a great time.
Mark, you and I have to go down there.
Yeah, we're going.
Yeah, there's no question.
We're going.
We're going as a tag team.
We know the president, too.
Yeah. We have an in.
You have an in. The only requirements for anybody and everybody, including all the volunteers that work so hard all year long, is you have to be a member of the CAC, which you can join again for $25 by going to caulifloweralleyclub.org. caulifloweralleyclub.org, and you can also get refreshed on everything I just mentioned, and you can join there for, like I said, $25 for a year, $300 for a lifetime, and then you'll need a banquet ticket, and that covers everything from the seminars to the reunions, the great food that we serve. That's all included for $150 a person. You can't beat that.
No,
Wow.
It sounds absolutely incredible.
Yeah, this is going to be a great event, and we are very lucky to have it in Las Vegas. And I have to say this, we were very lucky to have Brian Blair on the show. This
Absolutely.
is awesome. And Brian, we got to do this again because we could probably talk for days. I mean, this is such an honor and a thrill for me and Fish. I can tell you that, and as a longtime fan, and I want to really thank you for coming on the show and taking some time to spend with us here on the Mark Hoke Show.
Hey, it was my pleasure. It's truly an honor. I appreciate you having me on, and you guys are very entertaining. You ask great questions, and just keep up the great work, and I look forward to meeting you guys in person.
All right. Me too. I just love being regaled by the old stories, so it's awesome.
It's heaven for me. My stack of Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
Wait till you come to the event. I mean, it is addicting. But thank you guys. Mark Hoke Show, with Fish, you guys are awesome, man. Keep on buzzing, and if they get out of line, sting them one time for me.
You got it.
Hopefully, I'll see you guys soon.
All right. Brian, thank you so much.
Take care.
We
Be
appreciate
safe, my friend.
Thank you, guys. God bless you and your wonderful audience.
Thank you. Wow. That was fun.
That was B. Brian Blair, baby.
Man, I'll tell you what. That was awesome.
It really was.
That was great. Hey, well, we're running behind our commercial break. We'll talk about the interview when we come back and much more. All right. So, guys, just hang around. Wow, that was fun.
I was thrilled.
Oh, man. More of the Mark Hoke Show coming up here on KDWN 101.5 FM, 720 AM. the talk of Las Vegas. Stop the buzzing. People are going to think something's wrong with the radio. Fish! Stick around, everybody. We'll be right back. When it comes to having the right attorney in your corner, you want to have a proven winner on your side, and Russell Dutch Boyd of VegasCounsel.com knows how to win in Las Vegas. Boyd graduated at 18 years old from law school and is also a 3-time World Series of Poker bracelet winner. And no matter what legal challenges you're facing, Boyd will help you through it all. As a litigation attorney, he covers multiple areas of law, including personal injury, business law and startup, cyber law, and crypto clients, and whatever else you might need to navigate the legal waters of Las Vegas and beyond. Just visit VegasCounsel.com to set up your free initial consultation today. That's VegasCounsel.com and let Dutch Boyd help you win today. Once again, that's Russell Boyd at VegasCounsel.com. I'm Mark Hoke, and I've got to tell you about the incredible Family Soul Restaurant. They're the only soul food restaurant in Northwest Las Vegas, and simply put, they're the best in the city. Dan and his family have always treated me like I was a part of theirs every time we come in, and we never leave hungry. Start off with the amazing appetizers like their mac and cheese crab balls, crispy wings, and Dan's soul rolls. Then dive into Family Soul's dinners with homemade catfish, hot links, and fried chicken with all the amazing sides you could ever want, and finish it off with homemade peach cobbler and banana pudding. Plus, they're now open for breakfast Friday through Sunday, too. So head on over to Family Soul Restaurant right now at 2300 North Rainbow Boulevard, Suite 108, just off the Lake Mead and Cheyenne exits of I-95. Check them out at FamilySoulRestaurant.com or call 725-205-5085 for hours and their menu. Mention KDWN and get the People's Choice Special of catfish, yams, and greens for just $15.99. It's food for the soul and the family. Family Soul Restaurant.
You're listening to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Vegas, The Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Now, here again is Mark Hoke.
All right, and we are back on The Mark Hoke Show here on KDWN 101.5 FM, 720 AM, the talk of Las Vegas. The best in pro wrestling news and entertainment. I'm Mark Hoke, along with Andrew Fain. Fish, I got a couple bookkeeping things got to do, and then we'll talk about our appearance with Brian Blair. First, got to make sure we mention VegasCounsel.com. My good friend Dutch Boyd, three-time World Series Poker bracelet winner, is a terrific attorney, too. Graduated from law school when he was 18 years old, and he can help you guys out, I promise. Business law, intellectual property, personal injury, crypto law, and whatever else you need. All you got to do is go to Vegas Counsel, that's COUNSEL.com. He's going to do a free consultation because, well, he likes me. So check it out at VegasCounsel.com. And we want to remind you, we were talking about this betting odds on betonline.ag. You can bet on wrestling along with pretty much anything else. They actually have the betting odds up right now for the Arthur Ashe Show and the Royal Rumble. All you got to do is go to MarkHokeShow.com and click on one of those links, either on our front page or the sponsor page, and you get that 50% up to $1,000 sign-up bonus, which is awesome. So head on over there, click on the link, put in the code, and you can bet on some wrestling. So
who do they have as the favorite to win the Royal Rumble?
I think it's still Cody Rhodes, if I remember right.
Sounds about right.
I think so. You're asking me a question I wasn't ready for, but that's okay.
Hey, you brought up the Royal Rumble. I didn't.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well,
Cody Rhodes is currently the favorite at minus 115. The Rock is second at 550. And actually, Roman Reigns is a plus 1,200 to win the Royal Rumble.
Well, if Reigns loses the belt, that's the way you get it back on him. I guess you could have Rock win the belt, but you don't need Rock to win the Royal Rumble to face Reigns at WrestleMania.
I know that, Fish.
Although, if he's the only champion, he has to, because if someone else wins it, then that person has to face Reigns.
There you go. All sorts of crazy stuff going on in WWE and AEW, that big Arthur Ashe show this week. But I want to just mention a couple things, too, with Brian. First, once again, want to thank him for coming on the show. What a great guy. You can see why he's running the Cauliflower Alley Club.
Absolutely. I mean, you could just hear in his voice that not only being genuine, but just the happiness when he reflects on his life in the wrestling industry.
Yeah, and geez, we could have done that forever. But I just want to tell everybody once again, the event is coming up at the Plaza, and like he said, all you got to do is get a membership. It's $25 a year, and I think Fish and I will be taking care of that pretty shortly.
The only question I have about the entire interview is why the hell did Lanny Poffo have 2 pairs of bee trunks in his bag?
I don't know. You never know. Look, the Poffo family had been around for a really long time.
Absolutely.
Of course, Randy was his brother, and Angelo, the dad, ran one of the promotions in Memphis. And, he knew what you needed.
Yeah, but, I mean, B. Brian Blair and Jumping Jim Brunzell weren't even a tag team yet. They had just been put together right then and there on the spot.
Hey, it's Leapin' Lanny.
It's the professor.
We'll ask him sometime about that.
We need to, because I love that story, and I got to find out what the hell he was doing with not 1 but 2 pairs of bee tights.
Yeah. So if you want to go to this event, like I said, it's go to caulifloweralleyclub.org, and that's where you get tickets. And also, if you can take a second to make a donation, I mean, these are like some of the names that he mentioned that they've helped.
Kamala is a story that I knew very well, obviously.
Yeah, he had a lot of health issues and other issues, too. These are the people that we cheered on and rooted for, and sometimes they do need help. I mean, for those that, now they're making a ton of money, but back then it was show up, here's your $100, and off to the next place.
Yeah.
So it's been an organization in place for a really long time, and you need to, if you can, and you're a wrestling fan, give them your support. Either get a membership or just go on there and make a quick donation. Give them $5 or $10, whatever you want to do.
Every little bit helps.
Yep. And of course, don't forget B. Brian Blair's autobiography, Truth Be Told, that came out last year. It's about I think 478 pages. And if it's anything like the stories he just told,
it's well worth it.
Oh, my God.
It will be a page turner, so to speak.
I'm getting that book. I am getting that book. I was going to get it anyway, but now I'm super motivated. That's going to be in the library. So there you go.
Has to be.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
But maybe he explains why Leaping Lanny Poffo had 2 pairs of bee tights in his bag. I'm gonna wonder about that for the rest of my life now until I talk to Lanny Poffo.
We'll get it worked out, Fish.
Please do, because that's gonna bother me.
We will reach out to the bouncy one.
That's a very random thing to have.
It is.
It's not like it was. I got a pair.
But the thing is,
I got 2 pairs of blue tights or something. It's bee striped.
That's a promoter's son, though. That is a promoter's son. As an old-time wrestling promoter, can you imagine the stuff that they had around? The things that they think, oh, well, we might need this. Hey, we might need that.
Well, you've seen that, and they're all worth something. You've seen that show on A&E when WWE is looking for, like, Ric Flair's butterfly robe that he wore. It was like $10,000.
25.
Did they go for 25?
25.
Yeah, I mean, this stuff's worth a lot.
Yeah, so it's unbelievable. But once again, thanks to B. Brian Blair for coming on the show, and hopefully we'll get to meet him down at the Plaza. Fish, that is a sound like static.
It's a bee buzz.
But it sounds like static to the people listening to us on KDWN 101.5 FM 720 AM, the talk of Las Vegas, and KDWN.com around the world.
I led you into that, except for apparently in Saskatchewan.
The funny part is about that, there's some unknowns that are coming in. It says unknown, so I'm going to assume they're Saskatchewan, and we're going to give them the credit.
Okay. I'll buy that.
Yeah, and thanks again to everybody that's been listening to us around the world. We really do appreciate
it. Except for Saskatchewan.
Stop it. Andrew Fish Fain, everybody. What a spudhead. There you go. There's a Larry Zbyszko reference.
Spudhead? Yeah, but...
you remember that?
But I wonder if Lanny Poffo had Spudhead tights in his bag.
You never know. Yeah, but Brian and Larry did a lot of work later in his career, too. After the AWA days and so on, and actually, did you know that Brian, when he was in the AWA, wrestled Larry for the AWA championship?
I did not know that. I did know that Larry Zbyszko and Bruno Sammartino had some incredible matches.
Oh, man, I mean, like I said, that's something we could, good Lord, go over for hours and hours. But like I said, it's really interesting the history that Brian has been around and how much he's seen and, wrestled in almost all the territories and New Japan and everywhere else. I mean,
I will say this. I also didn't know that the Florida training school was called the Dungeon. The only dungeon I thought of was Stu Hart's dungeon.
Well, he was trained by Matsuda, by the way, which means he was put through a lot of pain.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you heard it. The only 3 people that survived the school out of the 100 were him, Hulk Hogan, and Paul Orndorff.
Well, and that's what a lot of them did. Because, and I've heard, there was another story that I heard. Oh, for the Undertaker, if I remember right, where I'm blanking who he trained with, but they would just bring him in and try to kill him the first couple days and get him out, so they got their money and
so you weed out the week.
Yeah, weed out the week. For some, it was more like weed them out, so the money they paid us, we don't actually have to keep training them. But that's another story.
As long as the check clears.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, but I just remember some of those matches so fondly with Brian and Jim.
And he mentioned it. The Hart Foundation, the Killer Bees and the Hart Foundation, when the Hart Foundation were heels, was just some amazing stuff.
Yeah. Well, and he actually named his late son after Brett. So
I did not know that.
Yeah, I mean those guys really cared about each other a lot, and and Brett has said that those guys were the favorite people he had to wrestle. So pretty cool stuff. Oh, we could go old school all day long.
Yeah, and your buddy Jimmy Hart's going to be there at this Cauliflower Alley reunion.
Yeah, and and that was a funny story. When I met Jimmy, I was down in Daytona Beach covering a poker event, and I had known that Jimmy had that bar at one of the hotels, and I'm like, I've got to go. And I went over and was there for a little bit, checking out the memorabilia, and then they said, hey, Jimmy's going to be here tonight, and I had the night free. And I'm like, I'm there. I am there. And I actually got to watch an episode of Monday Night Raw with Jimmy Hart.
That must have been very cool.
Oh, man. And it was just so much fun just tapping into the knowledge of him and saying, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And, and I still remember. And it's something, and it's funny because my program director here, Steve Hoffman, said one of the exact same things that Jimmy said. Be different. Stand out.
Oh, I thought maybe it was something he yelled through a megaphone.
No, he wasn't yelling.
You suck.
But really nice guy. And a lot of people in professional wrestling are. It's, it's fun getting more involved in the community. So.
It's especially cool when someone, Jimmy Hart turned out to be a face manager, but he was a heel for so long. When someone who is a heel is actually a nice guy, it's just so bizarre, the dichotomy.
Yeah. It is, but what a great guy. And so this should be a lot of fun down at the Plaza on the 26th through the 28th.
Yeah, I didn't realize Haku's going to be there. If you're ever in trouble, that's the guy you want on your side. Him and Harley Race.
Do you realize the stories? If you ever look up the stories about Haku, and to a person, I don't know if any wrestler has ever said the toughest wrestler is and not said Haku.
I think Harley Race was the other one.
He was brutal.
But yeah, there's a great story about Chris Jericho and Haku running through the airport in Mexico and getting stopped and just them beating up all the cops.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Because that's Haku.
Oh, yeah, that man would
rip your nose off.
Literally. It was done. Yeah, fascinating stuff. That's the fun part about professional wrestling is there's so many amazing personalities in it. And it's why we do the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not just because of we're talking about matches and things like that. It's fun to watch, but these men and women are such incredible people.
I'll be honest with you.
There's bad ones too. Don't get me wrong.
And that's part of what's so disheartening about the situation that happened in AEW with the fight and everything, because that gives a black eye to the personalities and the people that we love.
Well, and it's funny, but in any sport, any genre of entertainment, you always will have some bad things happen, but at the same time, the industry goes on.
Yes, it does. And what matters isn't the bad thing that happens, it's how you pull out of it.
Right. And I'm looking forward to AEW pulling out of it this week. Should be a fun Arthur Ashe show. Hey, thank you for joining us here on KDWN 101.5 FM, 7:20 a.m. Andrew Fish Fain, I'm Mark Hoke. Don't forget, download those podcasts at markhokeshow.podbean.com. Follow us on Twitter at Mark Hoke Show, Facebook, The Mark Hoke Show. And guys, we will see you next week. Have a great Sunday, Las Vegas. Thanks to B. Brian Blair for joining us. We'll see you next time. Want more of The Mark Hoke Show? Follow us on Twitter at Mark Hoke Show, like us on Facebook at The Mark Hoke Show, and visit markhokeshow.com to keep up with everything happening with the show. And remember to check out all of our archive shows on YouTube at The Mark Hoke Show and download our podcasts at markhokeshow.podbean.com and all your favorite podcast outlets. So join The Mark Hoke Show family today, and thanks for listening.